Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Dose of Desi. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed their holidays and are staying safe out there as coronavirus cases unfortunately continue to rise. Today is the 8th of January, and we are officially on our fourth podcast episode.
Yeah, hey everyone, happy new year. Very, very exciting. Can't believe it's already a new year, 2022. Here's hoping it's a good one. I'm very, very excited to kick off the new year with this new episode tonight.
That's right. So before we get started, please feel free to share your thoughts, comments, and questions in the chat box throughout the podcast. Since it's a brand new year, we're going to mix things up a bit today and do something different.
Yeah, so for today's episode, as you can tell, we have a special guest joining us. Her name is Kim from Singapore, and we've had the honor of knowing her for a few years now. I've had the privilege of working closely with her for a little convention called Pentacon, and I really got to see how kind and supportive she always was, a great, great friend. She has such great and unique experiences from her life that we really want to hear more about. And so we're very excited that she's joining us tonight. So welcome, Kim. How are you?
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. I'm good. How are you guys?
Happy New Year,
Thanks,
Kim. Welcome.
thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for
Of course.
joining us.
Yeah, I'm really excited. A little bit nervous. I actually wrote something that says slow down, Kim.
Oh,
To just
I feel like,
constantly remind myself.
yeah, we're just hanging out, having a conversation, catching up because it's been a while,
Right.
It's
Yeah,
been a
it
while.
has. Yeah. I think I met Udit in 2018.
Was it in
It
2018?
was the
No,
2016, I think, the
16,
first
16. Oh
Pentacon.
my.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I
Oh,
was in another country most of
yeah.
2018.
Yeah, that's even longer ago. Yeah. And then
Doesn't feel like
Hassan,
that long, strangely.
yeah, it doesn't, right? It's like what,
Yeah.
6 years? So weird.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Maybe sometimes I hear about you from Hassan, so there you go.
Well, good.
Somehow you're still in my life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I hear about you from time to time too, so it's nice.
Yeah.
But
So I'm maybe should I do a little introduction about myself,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
how do you
absolutely. So
guys wanna?
please, yeah,
Okay.
tell us about yourself, where you're from, maybe a little bit about, like family, your hobbies. Just let's get to know you.
yeah.
So, oh gosh, I'm actually pretty boring, but okay, let's try and make this interesting. So I'm from this tiny island called Singapore. We're just like a little red dot on the map. So that's what we are sometimes called, like the little red dot. Yeah, we are one of the very few city-states in the world. So we're really small. Hassan has been here before.
Yeah,
So,
it's beautiful. I
do you
love it.
like
I
it?
want to go back so bad. It's so nice.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, people over here think that it's too small and there's nothing much to do, So I don't know, maybe we're attractive to people, on the outside world, but
Did you say
yeah,
there's not much to do in Singapore?
because
That
we are
is not what I heard.
really small. Like from one end to the other, it's only 45 minutes by car.
Really?
Yeah. So, but a lot of things are packed into on this island, and we have 6 million people, I think. So, and because of COVID, and we don't get to travel much now. Everyone's stuck here, and it's always crowded now. And well, but that's another story for another day. So we're all dying for the pandemic to be over, so that we can start to travel again. Yeah, because Singaporeans are we love to travel. Even we have a weekend, just 3 days, we just go to nearby countries like Bangkok and Thailand or Bali, or
I was
So now
gonna
everyone's stuck here. Yeah.
I was gonna say, what's the hot spot that all Singaporeans are rushing to as soon as COVID ends that you think?
Oh, a lot of people have taken up fitness. So a lot of people have been going to our parks, and we do have a lot of parks for such a small place. So we
Uh-huh.
actually have we're surrounded by nature. I think that's one of the good things the government has done. They try to make sure that we are a green city. So we have a lot of parks, and we have good park connectors, and people cycle around the island. And so there have been a lot of people doing outdoor activities. And sometimes it's just hard to to even run sometimes on weekends. It's so crowded. Yeah, but that's what has been very popular these days over here.
That's pretty cool.
Nice. Well, tell us a little about yourself. Actually, I apologize. Probably should have, led with this as well. Is and just to clarify for folks, is Kim your actual first name, or is it? I know you have like a full name. I don't know how comfortable you are with sharing your
okay.
name. Or
So Kim is actually my English name. If that makes sense. Ng is my last name, my family name. And then Suchin is just, it's part of my name as well. But so Kim is like just an English name. It's like if I call myself Michelle, then I would be like Suchin Michelle. If that makes sense. Yeah. So Suchin is my Chinese name.
Gotcha. What's the meaning behind that?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
Okay, if you were to translate that directly from the Chinese words, Su is like a soldier, and Chin is gold. So I'm like a golden soldier. I don't know.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, according to my mom, like I got a name because when I was a baby, I was like really small and like weak looking. So, and my grandfather wanted like a strong name for me, so he gave me like a guy sounding kind of name because it sounds like a guy sometimes in Chinese, so that I would like grow up like stronger. I mean, look at me now.
You're a survivor.
Yeah,
That's cool. Wait, so are you Chinese by origin, or like
Chinese.
what's the background of how like did you immigrate to Singapore? Did your family immigrate to Singapore? How did that come about?
Oh no, so my grandfather, he was from China, but my grandmother, that's on my dad's side, and then both my maternal grandparents are born in Singapore. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'm like actually quite Singaporean. So my paternal grandfather is the only one who came from China. So yeah, so that makes me like very Chinese.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, and what about languages? How many languages do you speak? And also, I know we're going to get into your career later, and that might expand on that, but I'm just curious, I have to ask.
The like official language in Singapore is English. So that's our first language. So we go to school and we learn English as our first language. But depending on your race, we take a second language as well. So like for me, I'm definitely taking Chinese because I'm Chinese. And then other than like English as being the official thing, we also have technically 4 official languages, which includes Chinese, Malay, and Tamil as well. So we kind of like have 4 official races in Singapore. So that's kind of what makes it very unique as well. Yeah. So like in like on public transport, like we make announcements in 4 different languages. And some of the signs are like, yeah, we sometimes have 4 different languages as well.
Can you say those languages again? You said
so English, Chinese, Malay, and Tamil.
Tamil, like the Indian Tamil language?
Yeah, Indian Tamil.
Oh, that's cool.
Can you speak Tamil? I mean, I can't.
No. I mean, I can speak Hindi, but there might be some overlap.
Overlapping. Yeah, there are some people who speak Hindi here as well. Yeah. So that's like 4 official ones. Other than that, we have like many, many more unofficial ones. Because for the Chinese alone, we have like many, what do you call that? Dialects?
Yes.
So like I'm Hokkien, and then there's like Cantonese and Teochew, and then the Malays and the Indians, they have their own like sub dialects as well. So we're actually like quite a melting pot of like different languages and races, and yeah, it's kind of cool.
And you speak all 4 of these languages fluently?
No, I can only speak 2.
Okay.
Which is English and Chinese.
Gotcha.
And then I can speak like Hokkien I can understand a little bit of Malay, and yeah.
Gotcha. Listen, I'll let you ask all the questions. I'm not getting super curious and carried off here.
This is super cool. It's super cool. So you talked a little bit about like your family background, but as far as like your immediate family, do you have any siblings or yeah?
Yep. So I have a younger brother. We are like 2 years apart. So yeah, it's been nice recently because he just had a baby. Yeah, just
nice. Congrats.
A little over a month old. Thank you. And
congratulations.
so my parents are like super excited. Yeah. because I have decided to like not have children. So they are like depending on him to like give them more grandchildren to play with. So they're like super happy. Yeah. Like it's so weird. Like they live like about 20 minutes away by car, and they never used to like come over to our area so often. My brother stays like just 5 minutes away, and then now they're like making the trip down almost every day to just see their grandkid.
I don't blame you. I mean, Hassan knows kids better than I do, but
I'm sure I can understand from experience of wanting to see. It's always something new every day, so it's like you don't want to miss those moments.
True, and they're always taking pictures, and I guess it's the same for all parents and grandparents. Yeah.
I mean, no offense to Hassan or anyone else out there, but I feel like every parent who's like absolutely in love with their child is just like, this is the perfect child in this world. So it's actually kind of cute to like see that, every parent go through that a little bit. So
right. Yeah. I saw my niece the other day, and I was like, I just made a comment like, I think her name is Haley. So I said, I think we're quite lucky that Haley is pretty cute. And my mom was like, what? Hush, all babies are cute. I'm like, no, have you seen some like really not very cute?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
She's like, you are so mean.
There's some interesting looking babies out there. No offense. Hey, there's diversity for all and everything's good. But...
Right, you see? Yeah. I think because we are not parents, so we see it that way. Yeah.
I mean, I see it that way too. But of course, I'm going to say my son is amazing and is the cutest, of course, but
yeah, your son is pretty great. Full of energy lately, but yeah, great nonetheless for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Let's see. Trying to think. You okay? So did you, Hassan? You asked about her like siblings and stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm curious about like what are some of your hobbies? And I know you're quite the traveler. Except in COVID days nowadays, I'm not sure what that's looking like. If it's hard having the career that you've built, for I think 20 or so years, right?
This would be my 23rd year. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I know you're prior to COVID, you were used to like downtime differently, different schedules. But like, what are some of the things you enjoy doing these days? I mean, besides staying in and hiding from viruses.
I'm actually holding another job. So yeah, because for us over here in Asia, especially in Singapore, we do not have any what do you call that, domestic market. We are very like dependent on regional and international travels, because like I say, Singapore is like just a small island. It's not like in America it's so big. You can like go to different states, and I heard that in America it's like crazy. People are like traveling all over. But for us it's the complete opposite, because we do not have that market and that luxury of So I'm doing just like about 2 to 4 flights a month. That's like about a good 30 to 50% drop from what I used to do pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I had to like go find another job to supplement my income and just pass time as well. Yeah, so I'm actually doing something that's called it's called safe distancing ambassador. So when COVID first started, Singapore started to have like to recruit like these TAMs to walk around the island and like tell people to mask up, and depending on what the rule is at that point in time. Like for now, we can't gather what's the number? The magic number is 5, I think. So we can't have like more than 5 people in a gathering. So we have to go and like look out for things like that. And basically my job is just to tell like people to mask up. So it's kind of fun and not easy. And yeah,
I was about to say about that. I'm very curious, because I know like if you had that type of job in America, you'd probably get yelled at. It'd be a whole different experience.
I know my rights, okay?
Like, do people generally listen, or is it a lot of like pushback when you have to do that?
But generally, it's but over here it's like a law, because if you don't do it, it's like $300 every time. So we do get people who are like, how much is it? I'll just give the money to you right now. And you just try to like reason with them and tell them, oh, it's for your own safety. And it's not easy. They don't really, I haven't got like a very severe kind of scolding, but like the usual eye rolls and like that kind of like reaction. I think that's common, and you try not to take it personally, right? Anyway, I'm just like doing my job. So yeah, but it's not as difficult as like I can imagine in the US there, like you say, ooh, no, I won't do that in the US.
I have to sorry, I have to give a shout out to Singapore though. I think they were one of the, if I remember reading correctly, they were one of the first countries to like reach a very high level of vaccination rates.
Yeah, I think we are now like over 90%. I'm not sure. I think so. The last I read. Yeah, we still have a group of elderly who are just stubborn, but yeah. And recently, it's a new requirement for us to. They'll only consider you vaccinated if you have your third shot.
That's
something new. Yeah. Whereas I think in a lot of places, people are still struggling to get their people to get the second shot, or can't afford to get enough vaccines for their people. So I think we are very lucky in that sense. Yeah. But of course, as with everything, there's always pushbacks and like, how many is enough? It's gonna be like fourth, fifth. Yeah. So
yeah, I've always heard that the people in Singapore are very good at like following rules, and I've always heard the old like saying, nobody ever litters in Singapore. I don't know how true all this is, but
yeah, and I know you can't like it's illegal to chew gum in public or something, right? I remember like I just remember when I went there, it was so clean and everything. I was like, this whole, it's so organized. Like I was impressed.
Yeah, we're very proud of that. I mean, we do have our shady areas, but I mean, there is like this ongoing thing that people do to try and make it clean, at least in places of interest, I suppose. Yeah, but when it comes to rules, you're talking about rules. So I would say like the past maybe 5 to 10 years, people are starting to get a little bit more vocal, maybe because of social media, or we used to be better in following instructions and rules. I think. I mean, we're still good compared to like maybe the rest of the world, but in general. But you can tell that the younger generation, they're very vocal, and they tend to speak up more now against things that they don't like, compared to like my parents would be like, I don't like it, but what can we do? Let's just follow, and everything will be okay. But now the people are starting to question, like, why? If we don't like it, we don't have to follow it, right? So yeah, that percentage has like shifted a little.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. I always enjoy hearing about different perspectives, because we're stuck in this one perspective, and America's great at like letting everybody know what we're doing, but we're not always great at knowing what others are doing outside.
Well, I think every country has its pros and cons.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same everywhere. Like people just always have something to grumble about when it comes to their own homes and their own countries. It's sometimes you need to like step back and like just be grateful for. Well, I think how should I put it? Like, I don't think that we are not grateful, except for a small bunch of people. It's just because maybe we have this love for our country. That's why we care. That's why we want to like say something about it. I mean, I like to think that it's like that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That totally makes sense. And I was curious, like, because you have the perspective having traveled a lot and seen other countries, like, what do you think it is that you really appreciate or feel maybe is special about like the fact that you grew up in Singapore versus other countries? Like, what kind of sticks with you in this country?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think, well, firstly, it's home. When I come back home, it's like to family and friends. So that's like already a plus for me to have something to look forward to when I, travel. Because it's nice to travel, but like to live in another place is totally different. And when I travel, what I miss actually about Singapore is food. Because I think Hassan will notice, like we have like
miss it all the time.
and lots of like different cuisines, and because like I say, we have like many cultures and races, and everyone's here, so we have all sorts of like food, and it reflects, the culture reflects in the food itself. So yeah, I mean, we have like pretty solid Indian food, with it. So you have to come here and like try it.
I was gonna say, what are some of the, I mean, obviously Indian food I know a little bit, but what are some of the, I don't know, what are some of the dishes? What are some of your favorite dishes? Can you tell me more?
Uh Most of my favorite dishes are like basic stuff like chicken rice, and then we have like lots of like noodle dishes, which is very good because a lot of the dishes are like we have influences from other countries. Like for example, like if my grandfather would have come here from China, and to survive, he would have like sold his particular brand of noodles from when he's used to it to cook at home, and then he has somehow become like a local flavor kind of thing. So we have something that might how do I explain it? Like it might be duplicated. Like in China, you might get the same dish like chicken rice, but in Singapore it's like totally different. And sometimes like we improve on it and it's much better. So we have a lot of that kind of like dishes. Yeah. So whether it's like even like Indian food here has changed a lot. So if you were to like eat Indian food here and in India itself, like it might be totally different, but still good,
Like
So
how?
mm,
I have to ask because like I eat Indian food all the time, so can't
okay,
go on just
like
not knowing for the rest of my life.
like biryani, we kind of like do it differently here. Yeah, I think you have this thing called dum biryani or something, right? Like
I think I've heard. Yeah.
yeah, so in Singapore it's not. They do it differently. It's hard to find like the original dum biryani. So we do it in our own way, and we eat it with like fried chicken, which is like different from India, right? I guess. Yeah, but we do have like the other curry style as well. So and then we have our own condiments and sauces, and yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Gotcha. That sounds delicious.
Yeah. I don't know. What's your favorite food when you were here, Hassan?
Oh my God. Well, for me, it was the fact that like a lot of the food, almost all of it was halal. So I could actually eat
There you go.
like almost anything, right? So there's such a variety. That's definitely one of the big things that we took away. And Maheen, like, that's one of the big things when we look to travel, like she wants to try all sorts of different food. Like we were loving everywhere we ate all the time. I think the restaurant that you took us to the one time, it was like there was a whole ton of variety just at that one restaurant, right? All types of cuisines and everything. So I think that's what we found really cool there was just such variety and it all just tasted great.
The place I brought you is like it's like this buffet style, and we have like all sorts of dishes, even the Chinese dishes as well. But the whole restaurant is halal, so they do it like without pork and lard and in a halal way. So we do have places like that, so people can just enjoy dishes of other races. Yeah, but not having to. Yeah,
it was like an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Right. So without having to worry like, oh, there's pork in it, or like a dim sum, like dim sum, they can like do it halal. So they just replace everything with just without
like
the
halal
pork.
meat, basically.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's cool. I think. Yeah.
Nice. I've heard so many stories about good food like out that way, like that part of the world too. Like I hear so much about friends who even go to like Korea and like rave about Korean food or just like the different types of foods in Korea too. So I hope I get to make it out to Singapore and Korea one of these days and try some of these
I think Asia
foods.
has like a very colorful food culture. In Japan as well. Like, yeah, it's really awesome.
I like that they get really creative with their foods. I like that actually.
Right. Yeah. I love Japanese food as well. So it's like Japan is one of my favorite places. I can say so much about it, but like I can't go there right now. So I'm like, oh no.
All right, top 3 foods, real quick. Japanese and the other 2, real quick.
Japanese, Thai, and Indian actually. I like Indian food. Yeah. There you go.
Thai is up there on my list. I've been craving Thai for a little while too. So
yeah, Thai's awesome.
It is. Nice. All right, let's see. So I guess should we get to our main topic, Hassan, in terms of okay, so I know we kind of touched on this a little bit already, but the main topic that we had planned for was you being a flight attendant for 23 years.
23, coming
23.
23.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I guess like, first question is, how did you get started? Like, how did you know that's something you wanted to do? Prior to that, like when you were growing up, were you like, I'm gonna be a flight attendant one day, or was it like something else? Like, just how did it come about?
Well, it's kind of cliche. I went for the interview because my friend dragged me. So she was the one who wanted to be a flight attendant, and I just went in for fun. And then in the end, she didn't get it because she was too short, because there's like this height requirement. So in the end, I got it, and I was like, okay, let's just try this for a while. Never did think. I can't believe it has been 23 years, because I just wanted to do like maybe, I don't know, like 5, and then just go do something else. But I just kind of stayed, and yeah.
What made you stay? Like what was it that you're like, you know what, I actually do enjoy this?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the money is pretty decent, of course. And then as time passes, I realized that I really like going around meeting different people of different cultures, and just bringing people safely from point A to point B. I mean, that doesn't sound too cheesy. Yeah. So, and along the way, like I get to go like places, and I've been to like the Eiffel Tower, the Great Wall, and all the like nice places in the world, like so-called for free. So that's definitely one of the perks, like to be able to travel for free, so-called. Of course, having to work for it as well, but the work itself, it's tiring because of the physical demands and the jet lag and all that. But it's kind of interesting as well, because despite it being work, I actually get to learn a lot from my passengers. Like you realize that I always say this. I don't know how accurate it is, but it is for me. Like we are really all very, very different, but at the same time we are like the same as well. When it comes to like the basics, when you're tired, you need to sleep. When you're hungry, you need to eat, and you realize everyone is the same. And I also love everybody. It makes me love everybody more, but it also makes me hate everybody more as well. If that makes sense, yeah.
Yes,
So I think that's
totally.
Yeah. So that's really kind of
I
fun. I
feel
think.
you.
Yeah.
I totally feel you. It's like on a fundamental level, yeah, we have so many similarities. We're all human. We love, we fear, we this, we that. And then
Right.
on like a larger scale, there's all this diversity, all this language and everything. But then sometimes dealing with people, it's
Yeah.
just like, get away from me at times.
Right.
I don't know. Has that
Right.
been your experience? I mean, you're in the public service sector in a way, right? Is it
Mhm.
ever overwhelming just dealing with people, or people being difficult, and like, I don't know, how do you, in 23 years, how have you dealt with all of that? Because me as an introvert, the travel sounds great, but the dealing with people part sounds like a nightmare, right?
I guess it's important to understand a person's needs, I suppose. And after flying for like so long, I realized, and I lead a team of people in flight as well.
Oh,
So I think it's
cool.
very important to read people. That first impression and the vibe that you get when somebody comes onto the plane. And I mean, whatever it is that you do, I mean, everyone has a reason for doing something, I guess. So if you can try to work along that line and understand why people behave in a certain way, then it makes it like really easy for you to handle that person. Yeah,
Like
but of course,
intuitive
there's like,
almost.
yeah, that's right. Like say an example I can think of. Like say if we are in this airport that has like the bare necessities, and like they do not have the bare necessities, or like the water cooler is like broken down and whatever, and when they come on board, the first thing they want is like a cup of water. But for us, it's like, I don't have time to bring you that cup of water now. I have to help people with the luggage. And but if you want to like look beyond like why this person has, they're usually not trying to be difficult, if you know what I mean. It's just that whatever they want at the moment is not like in sync with what you're doing at the moment. So you tend to be like more why now, and so I think it's very important to understand the person's intentions, or at least try to, and have some empathy. That's like so important in our job. Yeah, then you get less upset with people who are not that nice, supposedly.
Oh man, I can learn some good. You're a good example for people, and I can learn some good things from you because yeah, I mean, even the way you talk about it, I'm just like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, it sounds like it seems like you really know what you're doing. So
I hope so. I mean,
yeah,
I'm still learning because, like, I think we are all still learning to be like better people, better humans,
yeah,
and so this job has like a lot of it's a great source to learn stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
because you're talking about, you come across all sorts of people. Have you noticed like general trends or types of people based on parts of the world that you're in? Like certain parts of the world, people act a certain way, or has that kind of come across?
Yeah, sure. But I don't want to like sound like it's too like racist or something. If I I don't know, like, okay, I'll try and be like as diplomatic as possible. You were talking about Korea earlier. So I realized like Korean people has this habit of uh, like calling you in a very rough way. Like they don't like just excuse me, may I have something? They usually like to go like, like this. So my first time doing a Korean
really,
flight, I was still like very new. I was like, what the, like, why are you hitting me all the time? But I realized that it's just their way of, because some of them, like, they don't speak English that well, especially the older folks. So they tend to like, they're worried that if they can't get your attention, they can't get what they want ASAP. So they are like always very eager to like call you. As a result, they don't realize that they're being violent. But to me, it's like,
personal bubble, right? Like,
right, yeah. So
right?
and then I realized everyone's doing it. So like I said, like if you realize that it's because of culture and then you don't get so angry with them. If that makes sense. Yeah. The Japanese, I mean, Japan is my favorite country, but so let's talk a little bit about the Japanese. They are, I don't know if you know that Japanese, like everything is like very precise. They're sometimes quite rigid because for them, that's why they are so good in like, punctuality and right. So it's always a double edged kind of thing. So that's why they are like very, when they want something, it has to be that way. So you have to like try and read them. And when they're not happy, they don't make a scene. They will prefer to like write when they go back home. They will go back and write to their office. Yeah, you know what I mean. So with the Japanese, it's a little bit
Wow.
tricky because when they tell you that everything is okay and you just nod their head, it's fine, it's fine. Like you think that it's fine, but it's not fine. So sometimes when we get unhappy customers, I think I'd rather have someone who screams and shout and make a lot of noise because like at least what I see is what I
Americans.
get, and I know how to
Sorry.
like get straight to the point and give you what you want, compared to not saying anything or saying that everything is fine and then they like kind of like backstab me, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's interesting, different cultures. Yeah,
That's so
Americans,
interesting.
the Americans that I've come across, they are usually nice actually. But I think because of the American Airlines culture, I realized that a lot of them like to ask for upgrades. That's one of the, yeah, because I think in America the flight attendant has more what's that word, like more power in that sense. They can make certain decisions like, oh, okay, I love talking to you, so why don't you come on up, we'll have empty seats up front. And but over here it's not that easy. It's more controlled because every single business class or first class seat is money, and they like to keep things more exclusive, so they don't really like for the airline that I work with, is they're super super sticky about upgrades. So yeah, and then you can tell like sometimes when we say no, then they're like, oh, okay, this is not what I'm used to. And and then smile will just like slowly fade away sometimes. Yeah, so it's fun and like to learn about different
Yeah.
people from different cultures, different worlds. And yeah, that's what I
I
love.
will say it's encouraging to hear because I think sometimes I'm a little bit cynical, right? And when you were like, yeah, sometimes people are used to being loud, like I'm thinking, yeah, us as Americans do that a lot. But it's encouraging to hear from someone else outside of the country, outside of America,
Mm.
that that's not how all Americans are viewed. Americans are viewed as friendly in many places. So thank you for saying that. That's,
Yeah,
to me, that's very encouraging.
I guess
And
there's always like something that is like nice and not very nice about a person, right? So
The dark
yeah.
and the light, or whatever
Right,
you
right,
want to
right.
call it.
Exactly. Yeah, we all have our dark sides, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fun.
preferably go. Actually, wait, I have to ask about this. I know this is going off a little off topic. So you said in Japan, it's appropriate if a person is upset to not show it and later go home and write about it. Is that right?
From my experiences, yeah, because they tend to be more polite about things in public, so they rarely like yeah make a scene like to say like oh like for example if they don't get like the food of their choice, they're going
Mhm.
to say that it's okay and they're going to eat it, but they're actually not happy about it. But to them it feel like it's not nice if you like were to say something about it right there, because you're making things difficult for other people and
Mhm.
you're like deemed to be a troublemaker, and they don't want that kind of like yeah
Mm.
Like
they like this thing called face, I guess. The face value is quite
that saving face, being grateful, I guess. I don't know. That's so interesting. It sounds like I don't know. This makes me very curious about the Japanese culture, the Japanese values, and actually, I'd love to learn more about that now. So,
yeah.
thank you for sharing that. Hassan, if you have any questions, go ahead. I'm just
Yeah,
digging
no,
these.
this is great. I love kind of hearing about those differences, and it's kind of,
Yeah.
cool that you get to experience that. So, what can you share? Maybe one or two examples of like either a really strange or interesting experience that you had, or something kind of like really memorable to you.
uh oh gosh, I'm trying to think of what story I should. Hmm. I had a okay, maybe let's talk about something more recent. I had this couple halfway through the flight. The wife came to the galley, and the galley is like the kitchen that we work in, and to ask for help, to say like, and her first words that came out of her mouth were, "Help, my husband don't remember me." And we were all like, okay. So apparently they fell asleep because they had like this long transits and everything. So she forgot to give her husband his medicine for like dementia. And
Ah,
yeah, so he didn't even remember her, and he started going around the plane and walking around, and we had to like have one person stay with him all the time, because at one point he did not believe that he was in a plane, and he wanted to like open the door.
oof.
So I mean, yeah, we didn't have to restrain him, but he was like old, and I mean that makes me feel like really sad, because yeah, they reminded me of my parents. So on a personal level, it's like, oh, it's so sad that he can't even remember his wife. And you could tell the wife was like in tears, and like, he was saying like, oh, Henry, it's me. How can you not remember me? And we tried to trick him to take like his pills. We like squash it and put it in orange juice. And he knew. He was like, no, there's medicine in there. I'm not gonna take it. So we kind of like followed him around and just kept walking with him, and until he was tired and he sat down. He said, I'm going to take a nap now. And then,
Cool. That was
but
easy.
yeah, that was easy. But so then she kind of like, okay, why don't you have a drink before you sleep?
Yeah.
And that's how he got better. And he didn't even remember that he behaved like that after.
And he drank the drink. Like
He
once he
drank,
was
he
tired.
drank, he drank the
Yeah.
drink, yeah. So yeah, that's
And that's kind
something.
of crazy because I mean, in her shoes, I'm sure she's like, I'm up in a plane here, like I don't have a support system. Like, what do I do? So you all were there to kind of be her support system and help
Right,
her
yeah,
and her husband through that. So that's
yeah. And it was a first for me. I mean, I've never had like a situation like that. So, I mean, we had to juggle like safety and being like their support system, like you say. So it's kind of like yeah. So in the end, we got someone to accompany him, and we had to do a service. I remember, so we had to do it without that guy. So we kind of like went minus. So we end up, but I think it's strange because I think everyone in the plane knew eventually after a little while. They started to ask us what's happening, and during service they were like surprisingly very nice, and the requests were like not high, and they just cooperated. So I guess there's hope in humanity after all.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
nice.
Mm.
At first, when you said a woman approached me and said, "My husband doesn't remember me," I was like, "Huh? Where's this going?" But
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. That kind of makes me sad too, because like I can envision some of that, like just with my imagination, and yeah, I can envision how that woman must have been terrified.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
really scary because we all will see people age around us, like our parents, and we ourselves will age, and it seems to be like really common, like dementia. So, but it was my first time handling it, and that up close. So it was, yeah, it kind of like hit me a little bit to the core, like thinking about my own parents, and yeah,
Hits you in like all the emotions, right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have to be professional at the same time, but I also want to go and
Yeah.
hug the woman and say like, oh no, it's gonna be okay, and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that was pretty recent. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Gotcha. Have you like met anyone like famous or anything while you're flying, or like and you have to kind of like be all respectful and not like I don't know if you get a chance to say hi or do anything, or like what do you do in that situation if you come
Most
across them?
celebrities are nice. I've met let me see who I've met David Beckham. Do you guys know him?
Yeah.
So this huge football
I don't know
star.
him, but I've heard of him.
He's really nice. He's very, very nice and humble person. But a lot of them, you can tell they just, but when it comes to playing time, it's their personal space time. If that makes sense. They are like away from
Yeah.
public and they have their own space, and they just want to do, like most of them just want to sleep because that's where they catch up on their rest. And I haven't had anyone who was like nasty. Okay, I had one supermodel, like she was a supermodel in the 90s. I wouldn't name names. So she had to like put her bag under the seat and she didn't want to. And when we told her that she really had to because it was too big, she like really violently used her feet to like stomp on her back to like forcefully push it under the seat to just like show that she's not happy about it. But that's about it. I didn't have anyone who was like abusive I had Ken Jeong. Do you guys know Ken Jeong?
I feel like I do. I've
It sounds
I've heard this.
familiar. Wait.
Yeah.
Ken Jeong is the guy in the Hangover series.
Oh,
like Mr.
yeah.
Chow.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the doctors. Yeah,
Right.
he's a doctor as well, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I had him.
Nice.
Was he like hilarious? What was that like?
He was surprisingly very he's pretty mellow, but he's very humble because when we had two different doors, so he was sitting in first class. I was at the other door where it's like boarding for business and economy. So someone came into me and like, hey, do you know who is Mr. Chow? Mr. Chow. So, who's Mr. Chow? From like Hangover. I was like, oh my God, it's Ken Jeong. Take over my door. So I went up to him and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. And then he was so humble and so sweet. He was like, yes, I'm afraid it's me, like.
I'm afraid it's me.
Yeah. I was like, may I get a picture with you? Please, 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 And he was so accommodating and so obliging. He was like, sure. He was really nice. Yeah. But I didn't get to serve him because I was working in business. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then before the flight lands, I went to say goodbye to him and I like hope everything was okay. And he was so nice. He was like, oh yeah, everything was very nice. You guys have been fantastic. And oh, I love people who are like that, don't you?
Yeah. People who are just grateful in general. In fact, like that's something I'm working on, just thinking about the things that I'm grateful about. But wait, so curious, are there any others? This is pretty interesting actually. Are there any others that you've met over the years that you can remember? I know I've met Justin Timberlake once.
You saw
what?
You saw really? Pentatonics on a flight, right? I remember I think hearing about that.
Oh my God, yes, I did.
You did?
I did. Yeah. I remember they were doing this a tour in Asia, and then they went like from after Singapore, they went to Taipei and then to Hong Kong. So I kind of like followed that route to go to their other shows in Hong Kong and Taipei as well. Mm-hmm. So it was from Taipei to Hong Kong that I saw them. And they were like in business class. I was obviously in economy, and we had to go through the business before I can reach my seat at the back.
Oh, so you weren't a flight attendant in that. You were just traveling.
No, I was traveling on my own. Yeah. Sorry, I should have like be more clear about that. So I was like, yeah.
Wait, that was planned or that was not planned?
That was not planned.
Okay.
Yeah, and I felt like I was like stalking them. Because they knew that I went to the Singapore show, right? And then they knew I went to the Hong Kong Taipei show or something. And then So they were like, it's you again, like, okay,
Okay,
it's
get
me
rid of
again.
you. I'm kidding. That's funny,
Yeah.
but that's pretty cool. That's very cool. Um, let's see. Have you ever, I don't know if Hassan, if you asked this, let me know, but have you ever felt bored with your work ever?
Recently, yes. Yeah, it's
No.
funny. It's funny you should ask. Yeah, because for the first time in my career, after like so many years, I actually had that feeling like, should I do something else finally? Because like I guess it's the same with almost everybody, but the aviation industry has been hit pretty hard,
Hmm.
especially over here. Yeah, especially for the airline that I work for. So I don't know. Like I've been thinking if I should do something else, but I have no idea what my other skills are. So that's something I have to like figure out for myself. So I would say like that boredom is not because of the work itself. It's more of like a general thing because I don't see where my career is going at this point. Because everything is just like, and then we don't get to go out anymore. The Asia airlines are pretty strict. So when we like say if I go to New York, I have to stay in my hotel room. And we do have like trackers and stuff, so they don't allow us to leave our rooms at all. It's like being quarantined all the time. So yeah, that kind of like it took a toll, I guess, after 2 years. Initially, it was like, oh, no, it's fine, it'll pass, And it's coming 2 years, and yeah, right now it doesn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel. So I don't know.
Mhm.
We'll see. Yeah. Do you
I'm
guys
sure
have
that's
a
one of
job
the
for
big
me?
benefits, right? Is like being able to go explore the places that you're traveling to. But if you can't, if you're stuck in a hotel all the time,
Exactly, yeah.
that
And
kind
it's
of
it's
takes
kind of like a
away.
reward. There's a reward system there as well because like no matter how hard you work in the flight and no matter how nasty a person may be or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's like, this is what I live for and why I work so hard because I'm able to like go here and there, my favorite cafe or yeah. So all that is gone for now. So I don't know when the for now is, how long it's gonna last, but yeah.
Okay, if I had to guess, I'm gonna say like I don't know why. I just have a feeling by April, May we'll be back to like semi-normality. Because yeah, I know the
Really?
whole. I know right now this is raging, spreading like wildfire across across communities and countries and whatnot. But I'm hopeful. This year I'm hopeful. But then again, who am I? So
Right. No, I
I'm
think it's good
just
to be
trying to be
optimistic and
optimistic.
hopeful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right. I mean, you can either go like, oh, I also felt this last year, or no, this is going to be the year. You never know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
But I
new
think if
year.
you if
Got to
you
start thinking
right,
fresh and
right,
positive for the new
thinking
year.
exactly, and I think it's more. I think it's more helpful if you were to think like, hey, we have survived for 2 years, rather than like it's already been 2 years. When is it ending? And then I think it's easier to move on like this. I don't know. That's how I deal with it, I guess.
Yeah.
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 So, out of all the places you've traveled, you talked a little bit about a few places you've gone, but like, what are some of your most favorite or memorable places that you've gotten to travel to from being a flight attendant?
Ooh, Japan is always my number one place. Yeah, I just love Japan so much because I feel like there's just so much going on and people there are like so weird in a good way. I mean, they have to be, right? So that that's why it's like so fun there and everything is like colorful and the food are all nice and I don't know if you heard this before, like even the convenience store, like a 7-Eleven, you get like pretty good food in there. So it's just a convenience store, but they still do it so well. So I love that in Japan. I like Bali as well because I love being on beaches and
Yes.
yeah, right. You just because it gives you the vibe that you're like okay, relaxing
Yeah.
and oh, this is life. And so I love Bali, just a quick getaway. And yeah, I would say these two are my favorite places. But
Okay, very cool.
yeah, but recently I've been trying to like go to more exotic places, I would say, or places that I never thought I would go visit. I've been to like Spain and Portugal. I used to not like Europe very much. I mean, in terms of like choosing a place to go travel on my own. Yeah. So, but I'm happy I did, because Europe is another different thing altogether.
It is. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So actually curious, now that we're talking about places and continents and whatnot, are there any continents that you haven't been to yet and that you maybe like to go to?
Lots. The world is so big. There's still so many places I haven't been. Yeah. Like I haven't been to Hawaii. I would love to go to Hawaii. That was the plan last year actually. Yeah. And
But okay, so you've been to North America, obviously. I know I saw you in the US and Dallas once, right? Have you been to
right.
anywhere in South America?
No. We fly
Okay.
to I think we fly to Sao Paulo, but I don't get to do the flight because that's like to operate the flight, we have to have like this yellow fever vaccine. So they only choose like a certain, so I'm not in that pool of crew. So that's the only place that we fly to, because the places that I go to for holidays usually are, because we do get like free ticket once every year. So we tend to want to try and like get to places where we fly to, like, so if I were to go to Portugal, I would go to like Barcelona, because that's where I went. Yeah, right. That's where my airline fly to, compared to like Madrid or any other parts of Spain. So I would love to do like other parts of the country itself compared to like where we just fly to. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
right,
South America is
So what about the African continent? Have you been any countries in Africa?
Yeah, I've just been to Johannesburg and Cape Town. Cape Town is beautiful.
I've heard it's quite a spot. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful place.
Okay, so have you been to Antarctica?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are lots of places I haven't been to, like even like Iceland, Finland, Scotland, Yeah, I haven't gone there. We usually just like fly to cities, right? For the good connection for flights and everything. So usually it's like the hubs, and so like in the UK it would be like London, Manchester. Yeah, even in States itself, we only fly to Houston, New York, San Francisco, and LA, and Seattle. Yeah, that's all. So I haven't gone to like all 50 states at all. Yeah.
Gotcha. So cool. Your life. I feel like I could talk to you for hours and hours and still like have something left over. But I have one other question, Hassan, that if you don't mind, I have to ask. Have you ever considered getting your pilot's license?
No.
That's not something you're
That's
totally
a straight no.
Okay.
I don't even have a driver's license.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
There you go. Yeah.
My brother, like, is that because like in Singapore, at least when I went, like public transportation is so accessible there, right? Is that why? Or
that's one of the reasons. And the other reason is just like what my brother said, I have like very bad motor skills. So I will be a hazard on the road if I drive. So they're like, no, please don't. Okay.
That's funny.
I'm bad, really. When we were kids, we used to play like Nintendo games, and and I'm always the one who like dragged the whole team down, and he'll be so angry with me. He's like, I'm not gonna play with you anymore. You're such a loser. Yeah.
Well, I'll say in a team setting that I was in with you for Pentacon, you were one of the most valuable people, always keeping us on track and everything. So I definitely did not experience that from
really. Yeah, see, I wrote notes as well.
Based on your time zone, sometimes it'd be like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and you're up in the meeting taking notes and everything. Like you were a trooper for sure.
Yeah. Thanks. I think it's something I like to do. So hey, maybe that's my skill, huh?
Yeah. Hey.
And I will just add on to that, though I don't know you as well as Hassan does. I will say every time I've talked to you, I've always felt like anytime we talk, I've always felt optimistic talking to you. I've always felt happy talking to you. And I'm sure that's something that you also, when you're working or when you're doing your job, that's something that you make your, your people on the playing field as well. So
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I've always felt that way with you. So thank you for bringing your positivity, your good vibes.
I think in general, I mean, sorry to interrupt. I think in general, maybe because of the nature of my job as well, like, uh, to put it like very morbidly, like every flight can be my last. You never know when something is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's better to just live life happily, and as I age, like it's really true when people say life is short, and you should just try and be grateful for whatever you have. And because most of us just complain all the time, but we actually have a lot
Yeah.
to be thankful for. And yeah, so I before I go for every flight, I try to call my mom as well, to just talk to her, and at least, like, if anything happens, like, okay, she has talked to me already.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
statistically speaking, flying's still very safe, right? Like,
Yeah, of course it is, but
okay, I'm like, oh man, not
yeah,
freaked out.
you only need that one time, so
But yeah, that's a good perspective to have, or a good mindset of just kind of appreciating everything. And I think, like you said, we don't do that enough. Just we get caught
yeah.
up in the day to day of things, and taking a step back and appreciating what you have is important.
Yeah, we really don't. And I think for me, especially, I think it's so easy to go the other way and just come back and vent everything on my family, because, like, I've had a hard time at work. But I mean, I think I should be able to be adult enough to, like, find other avenues to vent, instead of venting it on people that you love, yeah, because they don't see me often already. So the last thing I want is, like, when they see me and I'm still, like, being upset with them all the time. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And it's so easy for us to go into that mode. I think it's the same for everybody. Yeah. It's like when you bump into a stranger on the street, you still say sorry and excuse me or whatever. But if it's your own family, sometimes you're like, are you stupid or something? So yeah, why are we like this? I don't know, something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, that ties us into our one other quick question. So I think, as far as words of wisdom go, I feel like you've already touched on this, without even us asking. But I guess if I had to ask, do you have any words of wisdom for either future flight attendants or just people in general? I think you've touched on the people in general part quite a bit, and
Mhm.
I am thankful for that, for what you've said. It's been encouraging to hear. But yeah, if you have anything else to add, or for aspiring people aspiring to travel or learn more about the world or become flight attendants or anything along those lines.
Uh, I think the key to everything is to try and, I know it sounds really, like, cheesy, but just to try and find, like, that love in everything, whether it's in you or for things or for people or for places. Because when you have that, then you'll start to, it just falls accordingly, right, down the line. So it will reflect in whatever you do. And I would say have a little empathy, because, yeah, I mean, it's always easy for us to just say, like, but it's very hard to put yourself in another person's shoe and to really go through what the person is going through. So yeah, just be a little more kind, I guess. The usuals.
Yeah.
No, that's very important advice for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I feel like Udit said, like, there's so many great experiences that we've gotten to hear. I'm sure there's so much more that we could hear from you, but I think in the short time we've gotten some great advice, great stories, just getting to know you even more. And that's
Yeah, it's
been
been
awesome.
fun.
Thank you
So
for
fun.
sharing all that.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me speak whatever, I want to. It's been nice.
It's been a really good conversation. But before we close our our episode off, we do have one question that I see in the chat that Joel would like to ask you. The question is, I've always wondered what happens when you get sick on board being a flight attendant.
Oh, okay. Are we talking about, like, now or pre-pandemic, like during normal times?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Maybe
not
I'll,
sure,
like.
but in addition, it says, does your insurance cover every country in the world too? So these are the two questions, if you wouldn't mind touching on that. And he said,
Sure.
Medical insurance going to seek care?
He was clarifying medical
okay.
insurance. I think, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. So if we get sick at work, like when we're operating the flight during our operating pattern, they call it, if you're still on company time, let's talk about pre-COVID, right? So you depending on how sick you are, you get a choice of seeing the doctor at that station itself. So we can call for a doctor and everything is paid for. So they will come to your hotel room and see if you're fit to fly. And but to be honest with you, like for me, for about 20 years, I did not like report sick a single time. I think that's quite a record. So, but because for me, usually it's like all the minor stuff, like the flu, the cough, that something that I tell myself, like if I can still get out of bed and walk and do my usual stuff, I can still work. So I've actually always gone to work sick in the past, but just minor stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
But now during COVID, we can't do that anymore because if you have the slightest like sore throat or whatever, you have to go see a doctor and take yourself off the flight even before you can operate it, because I take it very seriously because anything could be COVID now, right? So yeah. And right now, if you were to be sick overseas, and then they will take you off the flight if you have like symptoms of COVID and stuff. Yeah. So I hope that answers the question.
But like,
That's the
wait, did you
question, yeah.
touch on what would happen if you were sick on board a flight though? Like while you're
Oh, in the plane itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it depends on how sick you are. Are you talking about like really like sick? Because we do have like doctors that we can call.
Mhm.
And yeah, like recently there was a guy who had a heart attack on board. So we treat the crew like a normal passenger in terms of protocols. So we go through like paging for doctors, and we have this like line that we can call. It's an air to ground call. We call it like telemedic or something.
Telemedicine.
Yeah. So
I know this.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So
A
we
little
can
bit.
we can use that, and then we have like these doctors kits that we can use on board to try and administer whatever we can. But other than that, if it's like really severe, it's the same as any other passengers. Like we will let the pilots know as early as possible so they can decide what's the next course of action, and if they need to divert the flight to somewhere else and to land to get the person out of the plane safely to a hospital. Yeah.
But if the flight's diverted, then everyone else on the flight's also diverted, right? And
Right. Yeah.
what
So
like,
the airline will take care of all the costs and everything.
okay.
Yeah. Because it's
So it's
something that is unpredictable, right? So
Yeah.
we don't, yeah, it doesn't happen all the time. So yeah.
But like the protocols for that are built in. So if anything like that were to
Right.
happen, the airline
Yes.
would know where, how to deal with the rest of the people. It was an emergency on board or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And if it's COVID, and if you are suspected to get COVID, and we have this thing that's called like infectious disease handling protocols as well. So we
Mhm.
like isolate you and move you to like a vacant rows and keep a toilet just for the person's use. And so basically everything that a crew go through in terms of protocol when it comes to medical will be the same as a passenger. If it goes to that stage, of course. Yeah.
How yeah, a plane is so large and wide, right? How does one get how do you isolate someone in a plane like that? Like with people around everywhere? Or do you just move them around or
we do move people around to
Okay.
get like at least like 3 rows. But if it's really
Gotcha.
like that full, there's no way we can move the person, then we
Yeah.
just have to like, yeah, it's unfortunate, but we just have to let the person remain where he or she is. Although we'll still move them to like the last row, as further away as where majority of the people are still. Yeah.
Just do
But
the
if
best you can, essentially.
right, yeah. But if you're seated next to the person, and sorry, too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same for if there's a death on board. Yeah, like if there's no space to move the body, you just have to let the body stay where it is.
Oof, that is rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has that ever happened?
Yeah, or rather we move people around the body. If that makes
Oh
makes more
boy,
sense. Yeah.
that is creeping me out.
Yeah. But if there's no space, then you'll be sitting
very
next to
morbid.
yeah. That's very, very morbid. Yeah. I mean,
Has
it hasn't
that-
happened to me before.
Okay.
But,
I mean, I
Good.
guess you have to build protocols for that. Like, I mean, yeah,
Right.
you have to have like so that way you know what to do. But that's
right.
that's
Because
the part
if
of the
there's no
handbook
space, there's
that's
no
like
space,
scary
you
to
know.
read.
That's like the worst case, right? If you have to be seated next to a, yeah. I mean, if the person is with family, then I guess that's fine. But if it's a lone traveler, then and there's no space to move everyone else around him.
I know.
Well, that
I
note,
know.
everyone please stay healthy and
Yes.
safe and happy.
I wouldn't
Took
want
a
to.
very dark turn.
Yeah, I was like, but interesting thing that's something I've never
very
thought of and never knew. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
That's funny.
But
Oh man.
any Kim, do you have any like final last like thoughts, words, anything you want to say?
Let's see. Well, maybe, well, again, because of the pandemic, I would say try and be nice to your service provider. I mean, whether you're in a plane or in a restaurant, or because I think people need to understand and see the big picture that it's not just that particular moment where you didn't get whatever you want, because there's a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes. Because of COVID, everything like staff strength sometimes has been like halved, and now that things are getting back on track slowly, that part is not getting back on track. It's not in sync, if you know what I mean. So it's just like how your delivery now is taking longer because there are lesser people working, or there are more protocols to go through, and it's going to take longer and stuff like that. So it's same everywhere. So unless the person has a bad attitude, if they are trying their best, then try and be nice.
Yeah, that's absolutely good advice to keep in mind, and we appreciate you and everyone else in those types of roles, because it helps us, with whatever we need, and to have people like you in those roles is truly appreciated. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you thank you from me as well. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for sharing your kindness and just being with us, having this conversation. I've really enjoyed it. I can't speak for everyone, but I've really enjoyed this. So yeah, thank you for joining us. Thanks for an intriguing conversation.
Thanks for inviting me. We can talk again next time, I hope.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love that. Absolutely. And I do want to thank everyone that joined us in the chat, Joel, and thank you for your question, Joel, as well. And Munib and anyone else that tuned in. Thank you all so much for joining, as always. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your continued thoughts via any comments on the video, via social media. Let us know. Please reach out. We're on Twitter at the Dose of Desi. And you can email us at thedoseofdesipod@gmail.com. So please reach out.
And one last note, keep an eye on social media for any polls or episode notifications in the future. We do update our Twitter and our YouTube live, schedule live live streams on there pretty frequently, every couple of weeks. So we'll be back on again soon with another episode. Take care, stay safe out there, and see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.